Don't you hate when you like spend some time filming something and it's long and it's detailed and it's wonderful and then something fails while you're filming it or after you're filming it and you have to refilm it? Yeah, that just happened to me. So, today's vlog is about the Pop Sugar 2015 Reading Challenge. So, I know you can't see that because of the light, but 2015 Reading Challenge. So I'm just going to talk about the books that I chose to read, why I chose to read them, and like a brief summary to get you interested in reading them if you haven't read them already. So there are no rules to this challenge. I gave myself the rule that I'm not allowed to repeat anything, so I can't check off a book with more than 500 pages if it's also a book with a love triangle and a book that my mom loves. Like, I wanted to read each and every single one of these. There are 52 things on this list, and so if you are doing the same thing as me, ideally you should be reading one book a week. That didn't happen with me, but hey, that's okay. I'm doing this for fun. If I get to complete the challenge before the end of the year, that'll be great. But I mainly just am doing this for fun because I love to read. Moving on, the first book, so I'm going down this way, not like 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the first book is a book with more than 500 pages. Can't read that, but there you go. And the book that I chose to read is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. So I absolutely love the Harry Potter series. I've been obsessed with it ever since I first read the second book in 5th grade. I read the second book, and then I read the first book, and then I read the rest in chronological order. But I wanted to read Harry Potter because it was still relatively new. It hadn't blown up as much as it blew up later on, in a few years later after that. But the first movie was about to come out, and there was one girl in my class that was obsessed with it, and I was like, hey, I'll give it a shot. So I've been obsessed with it ever since. So I wanted to reread my Harry Potter books because I just love it. So why this one? Because it is the first book in the series that is over 500 pages long. So I just chose this one. So basically, this is the book 4 out of 7. So this is kind of the halfway point, or I guess you could say it's the halfway point. And so in this one, Harry is halfway through his schooling. He wants to spend more time with his friends and his wizarding community rather than his awful, awful family. Can you blame him? No. He gets to go to the Quidditch World Cup in this one, in which we may meet some very important characters that play important roles throughout the rest of the book. There is the Triwizard Tournament going on at his school. So basically the Triwizard Tournament, we are introduced to the Beauxbatons Academy from France and the Durmstrang School from, they're not really sure where it is. And these two schools come to Hogwarts, and there is one winner from each school selected to compete for honor and glory and lots of fantastic prizes. So you have to be 17 years of age to enter this competition because of how dangerous it is. Harry ends up being placed into the competition at the tender age of 14. I'm not going to say how, but he is entered into the competition and he is bound by the magical law of the Goblet of Fire, and he has to compete. There's no way around it. And he's Harry Potter, so they have to include him in this, of course. But you have to read the book to find out what happens in this Triwizard Tournament and who put Harry in this Triwizard Tournament. And what happens at the very, very end. It's, don't cheat and watch the movie. And if you've already watched the movie but you haven't read the book, read the book because it is way, way better. But I love the Harry Potter books. I recommend them all if you haven't read them. They're perfect for anyone, regardless of your age. Because I know I heard someone say, like, oh, I grew up with Lord of the Rings, and, you know, that's real magic, not this childish. And I was just like, girl, you need to back off, because this is real magic too, and I haven't read The Lord of the Rings. I'm not saying this is better than Lord of the Rings because I haven't read Lord of the Rings. I can't assume that. But there are a lot of adult moments in these books, and yeah, just because it's in the children's section of the bookstores doesn't mean it's just for kids and the magic is childish. The next book is a classic romance. Now, in high school and middle school, I was never required to read Jane Austen or the Bronte sisters, so I never read any of their books. So I took this opportunity to read Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. I checked it out from the library, so I don't have the actual physical book with me. But I chose that one because it's the most famous classic romance novel. And so I wanted to let you guys know what I thought about it. So basically, the two main characters are Elizabeth Bennet and Fitzwilliam Darcy. They meet each other at a ball in the very first chapter of the book, I believe. And they hate each other immediately. They clash. And Elizabeth's older sister gets engaged to Mr. Darcy's best friend, and Mr. Darcy's best friend ends up breaking things off with Elizabeth's sister because Mr. Darcy and some other people influence him and make him believe that she doesn't really love him as much as he loves her. And so Elizabeth hates Mr. Darcy even more. But it's a classic romance. These are the two main characters. I don't think I'm spoiling anything when I say that they end up together. But it does take a while for them to end up together. So you have the whole book, which is divided into 3 sections, and they don't get together until towards the 3rd part of the book. It wasn't bad. For me, I have a hard time reading classic novels, not because they're bad or anything. I just have trouble getting used to the language and stuff. There has only been about 1 or 2 classic novels that I have gotten into right away. Most of them I have to read a second time before I get into them. So this is definitely a book that I would want to read again to see if I really fall in love with it the second time, because people love that book and I can see why people would love that book. But for me personally, it's not on, it didn't go into like my top 10 favorite books or anything like that. But I recommend it. I'm not going to say highly recommend, but I do recommend it if you haven't read it. It's definitely, I can see why Jane Austen is so popular, because her female characters are definitely ahead of their time, especially Elizabeth. But I haven't read her other novels, so I don't know if there's anyone that's a little bit more progressive than Elizabeth. But definitely considering the time period, Elizabeth is a strong female character, which is awesome. I'm all for that. Number 3 is a book that became a movie, and so I decided to reread The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. The Hunger Games trilogy is my second favorite book series. So this book takes place in the future in what used to be called North America. Now it is called Pan Am. We have the capital of Pan Am, and surrounding the capital are 12 districts. There used to be 13 districts, but the 13th district was destroyed when the districts all decided to have an uprising against the capital. The capital is surrounded by mountains, and it just had a lot more money, and so it was easily able to defeat the poor districts with no military power. So the 13th district was destroyed in this uprising, and the capital, to teach the outlying districts a lesson, decide to start the Hunger Games. And in the Hunger Games, each district must offer up 2 tributes, a male and a female, between the ages of 12 and 18, and they travel to the capital, and from the capital, they train, there's a whole lot of, details concerning all that, and from there they are sent to the arena. And so what they do in the Hunger Games is basically they fight each other to the death. Our main character, Katniss Everdeen, finds herself as a part of these games after her sister her 12-year-old sister is chosen to be District 12's tribute. So Katniss volunteers, takes her sister's place, and she competes in the arena, and she has to make some difficult choices. She has to decide whether, she should abide perfectly by the rules and make sure that everything's okay, or whether she might, make some other choices that could affect her family and her friends. And so that's what these books are based on. I don't think, again, spoiler alert, but I don't think I'm spoiling anything when I say that Katniss is the winner of the Hunger Games, because there's 2 more books in the trilogy. But I definitely recommend you read to see how she wins and what she does that makes the Capitol nervous about her winning. But yes, so I do recommend the Hunger Games. I think they are excellent, and yes. Okay, so the 4th book, I just started this one, is a book published this year. I wanted to read The Girl on the Train because it's getting good reviews, and it's kind of the book that's getting all the hype right now, so I wanted to check it out. Unfortunately, my library does not carry it, and it's being called the faster-paced, better version of Gone Girl. I liked Gone Girl, but it wasn't a book that I would want to add to my collection. So I didn't really want to buy the book if I wasn't going to absolutely love it. Instead, I pre-ordered The Haunting of Sunshine Girl by Paige Mackenzie. Paige is a fellow YouTuber, and her web series is called The Haunting of Sunshine Girl, and so this book is based off of the web series. I pre-ordered it mainly because she said, hey, I wrote a book, pre-order it, you won't regret it, and so I was like, why not? I don't usually like to pre-order books or buy them if I haven't read them, though, just in case. Actually, I'll buy books even if I haven't read them because they sound interesting. But this one sounded interesting enough, and it arrived right as when I finished The Hunger Games. I had it. It's published this year, so I was like, this will be the book that I read for my 4th book. I like it so far. I'm not going to say that this is like the next Harry Potter series, because this is going to be a series. It's good. I'm not going to say it's terribly written, but you can tell the writing is kind of amateurish, but it's not bad. I've definitely read worse. I think 50 Shades of Grey and Twilight are worse. So I like it so far. I'm barely on chapter 8. I will let you know what I think of this book once I am done reading it, and if possible, I will continue to make updates on the 2015 reading challenge. It is not too late to do this challenge if you would like to join me in reading all these books. Again, you can double up on the categories if you would like. I didn't want to do that, but there are no rules. Again, I'll keep saying that. And this is just for fun. So if you like to read, or if you want to get into reading more, I say join me. Bye.